It's Wednesday, October 13th, and this is now on HNN.
Breaking news at this noon hour, multiple people have been killed in a suspected bow and arrow attack in Norway.
A Hawaii Island woman was killed after a live power line fell onto the car she was in, sparking a fire.
Do you need help with something?
Yeah, I need help.
With what?
New police body cam video shows a bizarre encounter before a fatal police shooting in Nuuanu.
And this just in, as cases decline, the Valley Isle eases restrictions on gatherings and bars.
Plus, Star Trek actor William Shatner just took an 11-minute trip into space.
I'm so filled with emotion about what just happened.
These stories and more coming up on This Is Now.
We want to get started with this breaking international news. A man armed with bow and arrows killed 5 people and wounded others near the Norwegian capital of Oslo. This according to police in the town of Kongsberg, who arrested the assailant. The police chief says there was a, quote, confrontation between officers and the suspect, but did not elaborate. That's really all the details we know right now. The officials there who spoke said it's too early to rule if this was terrorism related.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching. This is Now. Ashley and Jonathan here. We have so much news to get to today, but first, a tragic story out of the Big Island. A woman was killed after a live power line fell onto her car. Lacey Denise has the details.
It happened around 8:40 p.m. at He'epali Street and Punimauka Loop in Hawaiian Beaches. Officials said a tree branch fell onto a live power line, which then fell onto the 58-year-old victim's car. Upon arrival, first responders found the woman on fire outside of the car. First responders had to wait until Hawaiian Electric Light Company crews arrived on scene to clear the live power line. A 59-year-old man managed to escape with minor injuries. Police are now investigating. For This Is Now, I'm Lacey Denise.
Now to the pandemic. 6 more Hawaii residents have died after contracting COVID-19. The state health department is also reporting 127 new infections today. The breakdown by island shows 68 cases on Oahu, 29 on the Big Island, 11 on Maui, 5 on Kauai, and 14 residents were diagnosed out of state. Governor Ige today signed Maui County's plan to loosen some COVID restrictions. The new changes will take effect on Sunday. Mayor Mike Victorino says as part of the plan, he will be increasing the limit on social gatherings to 10 people indoors and 25 outdoors. At restaurants, 10 people can sit at a table together, and those who are not vaccinated can show proof of a negative test to dine indoors. Bars will also be allowed to serve alcohol until midnight. The ongoing pandemic has hit Oahu's live events industry especially hard, but there is some relief in sight. Casey Lund has more.
Aloha from the oceanfront lawn here at the Royal Hawaiian Hotel. This is an iconic venue for outdoor events like weddings. And this morning we brought people from the wedding industry and the event industry here on Oahu who say they are very grateful for this step in the right direction starting today, but say they're still very frustrated with how slowly the county is moving.
It's incredibly frustrating.
We're frustrated and definitely confused.
I'm going to tell you, it's incredibly frustrating for us.
It's not the shot in the arm the events industry was hoping for, but it is a start.
While we're happy that you can at least start doing some interactive events outdoors, we need to go further and we need to go faster.
That's Heather Bailey, Vice President of Operations at MCNA. She also speaks for the Hawaii Events Coalition, a group of outspoken events professionals like Susan O'Donnell, her colleague from Aloha Wedding Planners. These are people who plan for a living, and they feel they just can't do that right now.
As planners, we want to know, and it takes weeks, months, and possibly a year for couples to put everything into place. There are a lot of moving parts. We're in order number 14. So as we've moved forward a little bit on the pathway, every time they make a change order, we have to reread all of the new restrictions and rules in order to follow that process.
Currently, the only restrictions easing allow for large outdoor events, up to 1,000 people. All attendees have to be vaccinated. There's no food and beverage service allowed other than water. Now, on October 20th, there's more room to work for indoor seated entertainment events and outdoor interactive events that would allow for food and beverage services, something those in the wedding industry are looking forward to. But many say it's still not enough.
A lot of my colleagues had said, we're very professional, we are mitigating, we have plans in place, but we're still moving a lot slower than the outer islands. I think what we need from our city and state leaders is a formal and public recognition that regardless of our case counts, regardless of hospitalizations, we as an industry can work together with the city and county to stay open and to create safe ways to stay open and rebuild our economy.
We reached out to the city and county of Honolulu to provide some input on this story. They said they didn't have much to add after announcing the loosening of those restrictions last week. Reporting at the Royal Hawaiian, I'm Casey Lund. Now back to you.
Joining us now is Greta Van Susteren, HNN's chief national political analyst. Greta, aloha. Thanks for being with us here on This Is Now.
Jonathan, thank you for inviting me, and aloha.
All right, so we wanted to get an update from you on that infrastructure plan and that social safety net package that the president has really been pushing. How important is this to him politically? And what does it mean if it doesn't pass? And why the urgency? Why are we hearing so much about this?
Well, probably because it's so important politically, which is the first part of your question, because the president ran on Build Back Better, and he wants to deliver on those programs. And what's a huge part of it is this $3.5 trillion safety net package, as well as the $1.5 trillion infrastructure package, which incidentally passed bipartisan in the Senate, and it's got to be voted on over in the House. So what the president doesn't want to go into the midterm elections next year, having run on this sort of, I'm going to build back America better with a $3.5 trillion. I really know how to legislate because I was in the Senate for years, and he goes into the midterms empty-handed without any of it if he can't get passed. So it won't look very good for him. And the problem is that the Democrats have only a very narrow margin in the House and the Senate. And if the midterms people are angry enough, the Democrats say, look, why should we come out and vote because you didn't deliver on the package in the first 2 years? That means that the House and the Senate will go Republican. If they go Republican, he can be sure that going into 2024, I don't know if he'll run again, but he can be sure that his party is going to get punished for having said that we're going to build back America and yet build back better, and yet they got nothing. They got zero. And of course, then you fold in the fact that Afghanistan, while the president promised to get us out of Afghanistan, everybody wanted to get out of Afghanistan. The way we exited has left a lot of raw feelings, even within his own party and among Democratic voters. So this package, this $3.5 trillion package, is very important to him politically. The $1.5 trillion is very important to him politically, and in particular, the $1.5 trillion package is important because it's bipartisan, and our infrastructure is in deep crisis here in the United States. Now, the 3.5 is rather sort of a transformative package. These are new programs, new things, so it's a little bit different than the infrastructure one, which is basically a repair bill.
And you know what? For those who haven't been caught up to date, can you sort of give us the 101 on all these bills and plans? Really, what's in them, and why should Americans care?
All right, the $1.5 trillion, that's bridges, roads, infrastructure. That's hard stuff you can actually see. The safety net one are more social programs, akin to sort of something like the social programs FDR in the 30s, LBJ in the 60s. This would transform society. It would talk about child care, do more things for child care, paid family leave. They're more social programs. It's got a very high price tag on it. And it is being promoted by the progressives, the far left of the Democratic Party, because they think that this is what is good for America. And the problem is that moderate Democrats say, look, we can't afford it, and they're worried about being reelected in November. And Republicans are doing something even else. They're saying we don't want it at all. We don't want any part of it. And not only that, the Democrats are making the U.S. socialist, whereas the Democrats who are supporting it say, look, we're going to make America better, equal opportunity, give more people advantages, or at least give them a chance to get one leg up in the economy and education and other programs. So it's a soft safety net program. And the question is, do you think it's something we need? Will it help America? Is it the fair, decent, smart thing to do? Or is it socialism? Is it basically making something so expensive we're never going to be able to afford it, as the Republicans say?
All right, Greta, thank you so much. Look forward to all the updates on all these issues coming up on Full Court Press that airs Sunday. You know what? While I got you here, can you explain to our viewers who might not know what that show's all about?
What is it about important issues? Like, how about this week? We're going to talk about those container ships. All the ports in the United States are over capacity. We can't get the container ships in, so we can't get any of our products in. And so all the ports are, so it's a nightmare. The supply chain is just terrible. We have a terrible situation right now in our economy here. So that's what the show is about this week, is what's the problem? How did we get there? How do we fix it? How fast can we fix it? And who's getting hurt?
And I know the president's talking about that today, and in a very, very important issue for our island state here in Hawaii. Greta, thank you so much. Mahalo for joining us.
Thank you.
Now to a story you'll see only on Hawaii News Now. We've obtained body cam video showing Lindani Mieni about an hour before he was fatally shot by HPD officers in Nuuanu. In the video, Mieni appears to be disoriented, and as Lynn Kawano reports, it's one of the reasons the officers were not prosecuted.
The video is from the Kewalo Basin parking lot on April 14th. The officers were responding to a car break-in. Lindani Mieni had nothing to do with that case, but just happened to be here.
I was walking this way and I thought I should get in. I thought wrong, I'm sorry.
Can you get away from my car, please?
Sorry, sir.
Thank you.
About 7:40 p.m., an HPD officer rolled up to assist with the car break-in investigation when Mieni tried to get into his patrol car. The officer and Mieni are both polite and respectful throughout the exchange.
Can I help you?
I was driven by a car and got me here.
Okay, you want to back up some? 6 feet? Do you have a face mask?
Oh, yeah.
Mieni goes to retrieve a face mask. The officer explained to the others what happened.
No, I got out of my car because he tried to open my back door. And I was like, what are you doing? And he was like, I was just walking by and I thought I should try to get in. Like, what?
This strange encounter gets even more puzzling.
Do you need help with something?
Yeah, I need help.
With what?
I needed to find a boat or somewhere to meet people.
Can you get your hands out of your pocket, please?
Sorry.
What are you trying to do now?
I'm trying to find...
Who's that?
HPD bleeped out the person Mieni said he was looking for.
Okay, do you have the phone number for that person?
Yes, sir.
Then you should probably call that person because there's nothing I can do to find them, yeah?
Mieni then walks away. The officer turns his attention back to the others working the car break-in. But as Mieni drives off, he engages again.
Okay, thank you.
The officer made a miscellaneous report about the encounter. According to Honolulu prosecuting attorney Steve GPS showed Mieni then drove to a Nuuanu home. Just minutes later, the woman who lived there called 911 and reported an unknown man entered her residence.
Get on the ground now! Get on the ground!
3 Honolulu police officers responded. Mieni injured them before he was tased, then shot and killed. Months later, called a press conference and said the combination of body camera videos, including the encounter at Kewalo Basin, led him to conclude the shooting was justified.
He was not intimidated in any way about going up and interrupting a police investigation. I'm not a mental health professional, but from this layperson's perspective, several of his statements and actions were strange, even bizarre.
The attorney for the Mieni family declined to comment, saying he is waiting for an unredacted version of that video from Honolulu police. He wants one without the bleeps. I'm Lynn Kawano, Hawaii News Now.
Former professional soccer player and Kamehameha Schools grad Mana Shim is raising awareness about sexual and emotional abuse in sports. She sat down with our Grace Lee today on Sunrise.
Mana Shim made national headlines earlier this month. She came out against her former pro soccer coach. Now, Shim says that she was sexually harassed by Paul Riley while playing for the Portland Thorns. She's not alone. Other players have come out. They have made similar statements. Riley has since been fired. He denies all allegations. Now, a day after the report surfaced in The Athletic, the National Women's Soccer League commissioner and general counsel were both ousted from their positions. They resigned. We want to welcome Mana Shim into our studio today. Thank you for being here. I know you just got back into town last night.
Yeah, it's been a whirlwind.
I bet it has. I wanted to start off by asking you, it seems like after the article came out, there was a domino effect from your story and the story of your teammates. How do you feel about that so far? Were you surprised that it happened so quickly?
I wasn't surprised that it happened quickly. I knew a lot of people were holding this in, and they needed to have an outlet, and I think telling our story was the catalyst for that. So I wasn't surprised. I knew it was happening in the league and elsewhere.
My understanding is that you filed an official complaint years ago in 2015, and nothing really happened then. What do you think has changed in that time from your first complaint until now to see all of this change?
You know, I had some time. I've moved on. I'm in law school now, and I had some time away from the sport to really think about it. And then the reason why I came forward was because another player came to me and said I had this experience with the same coach, and there are other players. So at that point, I knew I had to do something. At first, it was just my story, and I knew it was powerful, but I did what I could filing the complaint. And another reason why it took us a while to come forward is that our league has been, it was new, right? In 2015, it was only 2 years old. So I was worried about the fragility of the league, and I didn't want a huge story like this to bring it down.
You know, Mana, I think just as women in general, there's always kind of this feeling like maybe he's just being friendly, maybe there's nothing wrong with what this person is doing. At what point did you realize that this was wrong, that this coach was putting you in a position that was clearly not okay?
To be honest, I knew from the beginning. It was, he was very manipulative and tactical about it, but just the way I felt when I was around him and the way he would respond to me if I didn't give him the response he wanted. You know, he took it out on me in training, on the road when we were traveling, and I knew from the beginning that it was wrong.
When you talked to your teammates about this, was that kind of the support you needed to be able to come forward to tell your story?
Yeah, so I had a couple of teammates, Alex Morgan and Sinead Farley, the two that have been supporting me through all of this. I told them first, and they were supportive from the get-go. They told me whatever you need, any resources, however we can support you. And they were even understanding of me not wanting to come forward right away publicly. I also was silenced by the team I was playing for in the league. They didn't want me to say anything publicly.
Since then, a lot has happened. We talked about the resignations of the commissioner. Paul Riley has since been fired. How much more do you think needs to be done, not only within the sport of soccer, but really in the sports world in general for women?
Oh, that's a big question. There are so many things that need to be done. This is just the beginning of my journey, of our journey in the league. There are currently investigations pending. We have 3 right now. So we want a lot of transparency around those. We also need education, right? These coaches, these institutions, these clubs, they need to know that this is something that happens, that it's very prevalent, and they need to be educated on how to handle them. We also need more reporting, more anonymous reporting, ways and avenues for players to go about reporting these claims and finding justice, because I didn't have that. That was one thing that was very difficult. We didn't have an HR person that was a clear line of this is how you get support. And when we did find someone, it was within the club. So it made sense that, you know, it's kind of self-serving for them to find what they want to find.
All right, you can watch Grace Lee's entire interview on our H&N digital platforms. We clipped out the entire thing. You can watch it on your H&N streaming app or your news app or just on theregular.com. Let's take you live outside right now. I just checked the temp. It's 80 degrees. Here's Guy Hoggy with a look at the surf and your 7-day forecast.
Because of the winds, we got elevated surf on the east side. That's where it's biggest, but it's also choppiest. It's beat up. It's messy. We got cleaner conditions in town on that south swell, which is now fading. So we got breezy trade winds today and tomorrow, 15 to 25 miles an hour. Lots of sunshine through the time period, and we will see the occasional passing shower for windward areas, but the showers will be brief and insignificant rainfall totals. Slowly, the winds will level off into the weekend, and then much slower winds due on Monday. Keep it here on Hawaii News Now. We'll have all your severe weather updates.
All right, well, the internet is talking about something that will make many of us feel a little old. Yeah, talking about a classic movie franchise here. It's been 25 years since the first Scream.
What?
Yep. That's when it debuted, in more than a decade since Scream 4. Well, get ready to scream again. The original stars, Neve Campbell, Courtney Cox, David Arquette, are back with a new generation of potential victims and a new Ghostface killer. This is not in time for Halloween, though. This is coming out in January in theaters. And it's not just involving the Ghostface using landlines either. The killer uses some serious tech skills. At least that's what the trailer's shown. I know Ashley's seen the trailer. He uses smartphones and smart home features as sort of like his torture tools. So totally different vibe maybe of how the killings happen in the movie. I was a big Scream franchise fan. And we were just talking earlier. I'm pretty sure in Scream 4 that Neve Campbell's character gets killed off, so no telling. Maybe it's a dream sequence. How is she going to play a role in this new film?
I did not make it to Scream 3 or 4. I got to tell you, when I saw the first Scream, it was a long period of time before I could be home by myself.
Yeah, it was super scary back in the day.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's a little comedic, but also crazy thing about that movie is Drew Barrymore had like a title role, even though she's like 30 seconds in the movie right off the top.
Very interesting how they incorporate today's technology into it.
Awesome.
So we've told you guys earlier that there were signs this was coming, and Adele fans have been waiting nearly 7 years for this moment. So the Grammy-winning British singer-songwriter finally announced a release date for her new, much-anticipated album. So she told fans on social media today the new album, titled 30, will be out next month on November 19th. In her post, she said, quote, "I feel like I've finally found my feeling again. I'd go as far as to say that I've never felt more peaceful in my life. First single off the album, called Easy on Me, will be released on Friday."
All right, everyone's talking about William Shatner because he has went where no 90-year-old has gone before. Mark Streisman has those details.
At 90, William Shatner made a triumphant return to Earth after becoming the oldest person ever to go to space.
I'm so filled with emotion about what just happened. It's extraordinary, extraordinary. I hope I never recover from this.
Blue Origin founder Jeff Bezos welcomed back the Star Trek legend, who, along with 3 others, traveled to the edge of space aboard Blue Origin's crew capsule. The crew experienced weightlessness and G-forces during their 10-minute adventure.
That wasn't anything like a simulation. The G-forces. And just tell me, what's going to happen to me? Am I going to be able to survive the G-forces?
The voyage comes 55 years after Shatner's Captain James T. Kirk first defined star voyaging on television. Shatner's boldly going where few others have gone before was a clear publicity bonanza for Blue Origin. The company comped his ticket. Joining him on the flight were a Blue Origin executive as well as 2 millionaire entrepreneurs who paid for the chance to become spacemen. Shatner says the experience gave him a new perspective on the universe.
The vulnerability of everything, it's so small. This air, which is keeping us alive, is thinner than your skin. It's a sliver.
Back in July, millions watched Bezos launch himself to the edge of space. Today was Captain Kirk's turn. It wasn't William Shatner's final frontier, but his latest one. Mark Strassman, CBS News, Culberson County, Texas.
Go Captain Kirk.
I love him.
So cool. So cool. Of course, we're going to be talking a lot more about that coming up on KHNL at 1st at 4, so you'll want to check that out. You guys, that's everything we got for today here at This Is Now, but the news is still unfolding on your H&N digital platforms.